everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're looking at the Queen Studios InArt 1/12 scale Batman from The Dark Knight Rises. This is a brand new 1/12 scale line that InArt has just launched, and they're supposed to be really good quality, detailed figures, almost like Hot Toys shrunk down. I'm extremely curious to check this out and see what it's like. Compare its scale, accessories, articulation, all that good stuff. I want to give a huge shout out and thanks to InArt for sending this to me to unbox and review. Much appreciated. So let's take a look at the packaging. As you can see at the front, Batman from The Dark Knight Rises. We have the Chris Nolan Batman logo. InArt 1/12 scale collectible figure. Queen Studios InArt 1/12. Now this is the first item I have from InArt. They specialize in 1/6 figures, which is not a scale I'm into, but I'm definitely into 1/12 scale. Dark Knight Trilogy. Dark Knight Trilogy again. This is the standard version. I would assume that means there must be a deluxe version of this figure as well. On the back side, a bunch of credits. And at the bottom, there's a barcode, if that helps. So with no further ado, let's open it up. Alright, now that we have this figure out of the package, here he is with all the accessories laid out. He comes with quite a bit of cool stuff. We have a removable cloth soft goods cape, 10 alternate hands, totaling 12 interchangeable hands, 3 different sort of chin and mouth pieces, 4 batarangs, his grapnel launcher, his sticky gun launcher, and his EMP gun. Before we take a look at all that, let's talk about and check out the figure. So this is the Christian Bale Batman from The Dark Knight Rises, or The Dark Knight. This is a 1/12 scale figure by InArt. Here's a couple of details about the figure. The manufacturer suggested retail price for the regular version, which is what this one is $51. The deluxe version is $69, and that one comes with an unmasked head and a base. I'll have to track down one of those. This guy's 1/12 scale, clocks in about 6.2 inches tall, maybe 6.4 with the ears. For my personal preferences, a little bit smaller than I'd like. I was hoping he'd be about 6.5 inches tall, but it's more or less true 1/12 scale. And I will compare him with a bunch of other figures like Figure Arts, Mafex, Mezco, etc. So this is Batman from the Dark Knight Trilogy, played by Christian Bale, so let's take a closer look. Now, so far, I'll tell you, handling this guy, he feels good. He feels very sturdy. He doesn't feel delicate like sometimes import figures are. The face looks good. It has that really unique sort of shape of the Christian Bale cowl, where it's sort of circular and it goes in, the mouth is sort of round. I mean, it looks perfect. It has that almost sort of weird, dumb look the movie had. I like it. A little bit of sculpting detail on the brow there, very accurate to the film. I love how the cowl sort of comes up to the top of the ears. It just looks fantastic so far. And I'll tell you that texture on the suit is great. If you kind of look at the pieces underneath, and especially like in its boots here, it's very, very well done. The sculpt is fantastic. You can see all the different armor plates. Now, some of the articulation is hidden very nicely, some not quite as much. He does have a ton of different points of articulation here, and you really can't even see him at first. But he's got like a ball joint here, another one here, at least that's what it looks like to me. Shoulder pads, they totally move out of the way, not going to obstruct articulation, but it requires a tiny bit of work to put them back and make it look good how you're posing him. The belt is a separate piece. It kind of go up, move around a little bit. It is double jointed elbows. They go in quite nicely. The fins look good too, and they are separated like they're supposed to be. Now he has a lot going on in this sort of thigh area. You can see his sort of trunk piece, and he has another piece here and a separate piece here, and I think that could look a little bit better. Maybe if they tightened up this part, it wouldn't be quite as noticeable. They did such a good job hiding the articulation here, and not quite as good a job here. Double jointed knees. Really, really impressed with those boots. They just look and feel so good. You can even see the little tread on the bottom of his feet. So far, he looks very, very spot on to the film. And then here's the figure, broken down as far as he can go with all of his removable parts detached. Now let's check out his accessories. And let's go ahead and start off by attaching his cape And a closer look at his face and head sculpt, which I think they just really captured the look of Christian Bale in that Dark Knight suit. They nailed it. The cowl, the face, the mouth. Looks excellent. Now let's look at his cape. It's a cloth soft goods cape. When stretched out, it looks about like this. It has these little sort of clasps that will attach to the figure over his shoulders. Unfortunately, it does not have a bendy wire in it. That would be kind of nice. It feels very nice, sort of lightweight, but sort of heavy at the same time. It does, hold itself down. I like it. The material feels and looks very nice. In order to attach the cape, you have to remove this chest piece, which is held together with magnets. And you'll insert the little clamps into those holes there, put the chest piece back on, and bam, a secure cape. And that took a little while. It was kind of hard to balance putting the cape sort of plastic pieces into those holes, holding them down, and then get the magnet chest on. But once I did, it looks great. Like I said, the cape, it's sort of light but heavy enough to hang down at the same time. It looks pretty good. It goes down to around his feet. The length is about perfect. It has a very slight little gap at the back there. Doesn't really look bad. Comes out of his chest armor seamlessly. You can't even tell that it was removed or anything sticking out. The cape itself can extend about that far. Could be cool for some gliding things, just like in the films. You can kind of put it in front of him a little bit, sort of covering him up. But really just sort of supposed to look like this, and I think it looks pretty good. It would have been kind of nice if we had an alternate cape with a bendy wire or a big outstretched gliding one, but this is very nice. If I had to pick one of those three, it would be this type, but maybe with a bendy wire. And I will say that slit in the back of his cape is completely accurate to the film. One mildly interesting thing about this guy are his knees. They're slightly bent. You can't get him into a full upright vanilla pose, which is how I normally position my action figures. But I guess it makes him a little more realistic. People usually don't stand with their knees completely locked upright. Now let's look at his hands. He has a total of 12 of them. 5 left hands and 7 right hands. And I'll tell you, when pulling them off the figure, very, very well done. A lot of these import figures, you feel like you're going to snap the wrist pegs, swapping them in and out. Let me show you how this one went. So here's the figure with no hands on. You can see the wrist peg. So, take one of these little fists, put it on there and listen. You can kind of hear when it pops on. Hand has sort of like a rubbery feel. It has some give to it. And it just feels so good. Like it's not going to break. No resistance. Almost like a suction cups it in there. I think it's engineered very nicely. Here he is with his first pair of hands. These are his fists. Here's his second pair of hands. This is a pair of gripping hands. Here's a pair of sort of extended hands. When I see these, I think like his fingers are extended, like he just threw the Batarang. And here, with a pair of default hands, they would look good relaxed at his sides. And here's another set of hands. His right hand is a gripping hand with a really small grip for his Batarang, and his left hand is kind of like a semi-open hand. It could hold something rather large. And he has 2 additional right hands. Here's a gripping hand with a trigger finger, and he has one more right hand, another gripping hand with a trigger finger with a little bit of a further extended index finger. Now let's look at his mouths. He has 3 of them, 2 of which have a fairly normal expression, and 1 has a kind of frowning expression. Here he is with his first mouth. This one looks to be about the most normal expression. Here's his second mouth. This one looks pretty similar to the last one, and it's not smiling, but it's a little bit closer to a smile than the last one. And here's his third mouth. This one has a little bit of a frown, a more angry expression. And in case you were wondering how he looks with no mouth at all, he looks like this. Just sort of a black hole there for the peg for the inside of his mouth to attach to. Now let's look at his Batarangs. He has 4 of them. They're done in a gold color, and they look like the Dark Knight trilogy bat symbol. 2 smaller ones, 2 large ones, which is accurate to the film. You didn't really see a lot of Batarang use in the films besides Batman Begins, but he did have some smaller Batarangs and some larger ones. You can see the sculpt on the larger ones. I believe they would sort of fold in half and fit onto his utility belt. Then he also had the smaller ones. Here's Batman holding and getting ready to throw his Batarang. And even though it looks small, this is actually the larger one. And then here, holding that smaller Batarang. Now let's look at the rest of his weapons or bat gadgets. First of all, we have his gravity launcher. Sculpt's fantastic. I like the paint job. It's got the black and the gold. Sculpt is just great. Then we have his sticky bomb launcher. And the figure is advertised as from The Dark Knight Rises, but this was only used in The Dark Knight. But it goes with the suit. This part in the back would pump out and it would shoot the sticky bomb from here. Then we have his EMP gun. Once again, the sculpt is just fantastic. Even has the sort of blue at the front. Very pleased with what I'm looking at. In particular, the gravity launcher and EMP gun. Here's Batman holding and getting ready to use his gravity launcher. Here's Batman holding that EMP gun, about to disable some vehicles. And here's Batman holding that sticky bomb launcher, which is actually not the right way to hold it. The right way for him to hold it would be about like this. In the film, he had one hand on the trigger here, and another hand at the back, sort of pumping it and reloading the next sticky bombs. Now because this Batman only has a trigger finger hand on his right hand, makes it a little bit difficult to hold that way. Something about like this is the right way he held it in the film. Now that we've taken a pretty good look at both the figure and his accessories, let's check out his height. From bottom to the top of his head, standing about 6 or 6.1 inches tall, which can translate to just over 15 centimeters, and if you go to the top of the ears, about 6.2 or maybe 6.3 inches tall. This guy is done in true 1/12 scale, where 6.0 inches equals 6 foot tall. Most of the 1/12 figures that I have are probably more like 1/11 figures. They stand about 6.5 inches tall, and that is a scale that I personally prefer, but this guy is still absolutely fantastic, and he's going to fit in with some of the smaller action figure lines that I collect. And for his articulation, starting with his head, of course, it can rotate side to side. He can look up about that far, down quite a bit as well. He can tilt his head from one side to the other, giving him a good amount of personality. He has articulation both at the top of the neck and at the bottom of the neck as well, giving him a very wide range of motion in the neck area. Shoulders, they go up more than 90 degrees, sort of a ball joint inside of there, or a peg going inside of there. Now the shoulder pads, they can come out, they can go up like that, they can get pushed back in, very well done. They're sort of hinged in two different places inside of there. He has, looks like a little bit of drop down shoulders, but not by much. Kind of push him back up a little bit. He does have, looks like sort of a butterfly joint there, goes forward and back a little bit. He's got a bicep cut below that. It's hidden very nicely under the armor. I don't even really see it. I guess it's right here. Then he has double jointed elbows. They go in all the way. His wrist can rotate, and it's hinged as well. And you can change the way it's hinged if you rotate around, and then kind of go up and down. In his torso, he's got a ball joint at the top, rotate around, forward and back, but not by much. He has another ball joint, looks like right below that, at least another layer. Kind of rotate around, forward and back. In his waist, another one, rotate around, forward and back. He just has tons of layers of articulation. I see something here, and here, and then I think even down below. So between all of them, pretty good range of motion in the torso area. Each one has this little bit of motion. Add them all together, it works pretty good, and it is seamless. You cannot see that at all. Very, very well done. Kind of got these drop down hips a little bit. The belt looks like it kind of slid up. Use that to cover that up. Legs, they go out about this far. Not completely does the splits, but pretty close. Interesting engineering going inside of here. It's not really ball joints. Tons of stuff going on here. So the legs can go out that far. There is rotation here, and that's probably my only complaint, is you can kind of see a little bit larger at the bottom of the leg than the top. You could just tighten that up just a tiny bit, but that could affect the articulation. And they go forward absolutely all the way. Back, not much. Very pleased with what I'm looking at there. It's well done, but this is the only area that you can sort of see the articulation. And I can imagine as they continue to release 1/12 scale figures, they might be able to improve upon that. It just looks like a little bit too much going on there. Functionality is pretty good though. Double jointed knees, I only go back about that far, and that's fine. There's no rotation there. His ankle, forward and back, rotate, tilt rock, and of course, toe articulation. This guy can hit a wide variety of poses. Of course, you can have him standing up straight. You wanted him crouching down on one knee, looking over a rooftop. Absolutely no problem there. You want him to be in sort of a fighting pose. You probably want to swap out his fists, but he can stand there, ready to go, put his angry face on, ready to fight Bane like the Dark Knight Rises. You want him to kick. He can go out about that far. And you can have him sort of reaching up, taking off his cowl. He can do almost anything that you really want him to do. Very pleased with the appearance and functionality of this guy. Here's a look at Batman on a rooftop of Gotham. Bat signal behind him, and more of a close-up of this Bale as Batman on the rooftop. Here's a look at Batman in the Batcave with his vehicles and armory behind him. Here's Batman with the Joker in the GCPD interrogation room. And here we have Batman in the Gotham City streets using his EMP cannon against some motorcycles. And then Batman driving the Batpod through the streets of Gotham City. Here's Batman facing off with Bane, just like he did in The Dark Knight Rises. Here's a look at this Batman figure in front of a building in Gotham City with the burning bat symbol behind him, just like the poster for The Dark Knight. And here he is in that iconic scene and pose from The Dark Knight, looking defeated with rubble all behind him. Now let's check him out next to some other action figures, starting off with some other Christian Bale Dark Knight Trilogy Batman figures. Here's the InArt Dark Knight Batman next to the Hot Toys 1/12 scale Dark Knight Batman. And people say the InArt 1/12 scale figures are like shrunken down Hot Toys. Well, this InArt 1/12 scale Christian Bale Batman looks way better than Hot Toys' version. And here he is, next to the SH Figure Arts version, which is a very nice Dark Knight Batman figure, but has definitely been topped by InArt. And here, with a Mattel Movie Master Dark Knight Batman, then with the Soap Studios Dark Knight Batman figure, then with the Moto King Dark Knight Batman, next with the Mafex 3.0 Dark Knight Batman figure, and now with McFarlane's DC Multiverse Dark Knight Batman figure. Completely different scale here. Here are a bunch of different Christian Bale Dark Knight Batman figures from various companies, from smallest to largest. We have Hot Toys, SH Figure Arts, Mattel, InArt, Soap Studios, Moto King, Mafex, and McFarlane Toys. There is an upcoming version from Mezco. Curious what that's going to turn out to be like. And I'd say before this InArt version, the SH Figure Arts is probably the best one as far as articulation, function, mobility, etc. InArt has completely dethroned him. I'd say before this InArt one, McFarlane was my favorite because I prefer that scale. But this InArt one is just fantastic. It is a masterpiece of a figure. Here's this Batman next to all the Mafex Batman Rogues from the Dark Knight Trilogy. They scale up just a hair taller than him, but look pretty good together as a group. Scarecrow, Ra's al Ghul, the Joker, Two-Face, Bane, and Catwoman. Pretty much the only one they didn't make was Talia al Ghul, and that doesn't really surprise me. Here he is, next to the Felix Toys third-party Heath Ledger Joker. I'd say it's definitely the best Heath Ledger Joker figure out there. He scales up a little bit larger than InArt, and this is the scale that I was hoping InArt would be. This is probably the Joker most worthy of standing up next to this Batman. Now let's check him out next to some action figures from different various companies, so we can see how he fits in both scale and style-wise, in case you want to know which lines you can mix him with. Since he's an InArt 1/12 scale figure, he's a 6-inch scale, I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of these smaller action figure lines I collect, and work my larger, and I'm going to include as many Batman figures as I can during these comparisons. Here he is, next to some Jazzwares Fortnite figures, and some SH Figure Arts Batman figures. And now, with some Hasbro Marvel Legends and Mafex Batman figures, here's this Batman next to a hamburger bun, and here he is with some Mattel and Mezco Batman figures, then with both some Mattel and Jazzwares Wrestling figures, next with some NECA and DC Direct figures, and finally with some McFarlane and Diamond Select toys. So overall, this is a really nice Dark Knight Trilogy Batman figure. His articulation is fantastic and it's hidden very nicely. The texture on the outfit, very well done. The likeness is spot on. The cape is made of a great material. It's heavy enough to sort of hang down by his feet. It would have been nice if he had an alternate cape with a bendy wire. That way you could do some more poses and have the cape flowing in the wind, etc. I'd say my only real complaints about this guy would be I would like to have an alternate different cape with a bendy wire. He has a little bit too much going on in the thigh area. It's supposed to be seamless with all those different sort of armor panels, etc. But it's interrupted by the articulation cuts. And he's a little bit smaller than I'd like. That's not really an issue with the figure, just my own personal preferences. His accessories are plentiful, and if you get the deluxe version, you get even more stuff. From what I've seen, the unmasked Christian Bale head is fantastic. If I were to rate this guy, I'm teetering between an 8.5 and a 9. The figure probably deserves a 9, but as far as D. Hunter's personal preferences, I'll give him an 8.5, just a little bit smaller than I'd like. I was hoping he was going to be about Mafex size, but he's a little smaller. Thank God he's not as small as the Hot Toys figure, because that just totally ruined that figure for me. Plus, it doesn't look that good anyway. So this is D. Hunter. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to save the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate you do that. Once again, this is D. Hunter. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll talk to you guys real soon.